Hi YouTube, in this video tutorial we will show how we will program an Arduino for a direct online motor starter. It's a simple program and I'll try to be as understandable as I can. First of all, I don't use the Arduino IDE, I will use the UEC IDE. I believe it's more flexible and more easier. Anyway, I like it more, so I prefer to use that IDE. Let's start programming and show how we will implement this algorithm. First of all, we will have to give a name to our program. So let's call it Arduino DOL motor starter. And let's give better names to the pins that we will be used. I personally will use the pin number 7, 8, 9 and 10. Then the pin number 7 will be the motor running. That pin is that where the relay will be connected, and the other relay will drive the contactor of the motor. That pin will be an output. Also, a pin will be used for as input for the start button and will be equal to number 8. So this will be start button and it will be an input. Also the same for the stop, and the stop button will be connected at the number 9. Also, I will use a pin for the thermal overload contact. And it will be number 10. And also this will be an input. Now I need to add some more variables that will be the reading variables of the states of inputs and outputs. So there will be the states. The states, I mean, that will be low or high. So I will have states of inputs and outputs. So my first variable will be motor state, and with that variable I will read the state of the pin 7, the motor running pin. The same for the start. The same for the stop. and the same for the thermal overload. Excuse me. That's the variables I will use on all the names. Now I have to set the input. I have to set all that variables or inputs or outputs, especially these variables. So I will use the void setup function. Let's see how. Let's write the code. We will use the pin mode function. So the motor running will be an output, oh sorry, I forgot something here. Again, I will use the pin mode function for the start. This will be an input, and I will use the input pull up. That's what means I will use the internal Arduino pull-up circuit as an input, so I will have an easier circuit when I'll test my program. Just notice that if with that definition I will use only the ground. What means if an input pin is connected to the ground, the state of the input will be equal to 0. If that input pin is not connected to the ground, the input state will be equal to 1 or to high, or whatever you want to say it. I use the internal circuit so to have an easier circuit to make when I drive when I test Arduino, and I will use the internal pull-up resistor to avoid any kind of noise that will mix up everything when I test. That is the easiest circuit, and we can implement. That's why I use that. So I will use again the pin mode for the stop, and we will be again input pull up. I will use again the pin mode for the thermal overload. Let's add some comments here to be more understandable. Here will be the motor contactor. Here is the start button. and the start button is a normally open button, and we are using the internal pull up circuit. The same for the stop. Let me copy and paste. But the stop button is a normal close button. That's we have to notice. And also for the contact of the thermal overload protection. So we are correct. Okay, this is the motor overload contact. It is a normally closed contact. Now we have finished of the setup, and we can go to write the main program. So here will be the main program. Excuse me. And the first thing that we will do is to read the inputs and the output states. So here is reading the inputs and the outputs states. So start state is equal to this is a read start. So let's add some comments here. The same for everything. Same for the thermal overload. And the same for the motor state. So, and here and now we will go to add some conditions, the starting conditions for the program. So we will use an if statement. So if the start state is equal to 0 and the stop state is equal to 0. That means that the start button is pressed, so it's connected to the ground. The stop button as normal close is connected to the ground, and the thermal overload state again is that is equals to low or 0. That means that is also connected to the ground. The motor must start running. Oops, here's something bad. We will solve it. So here is the motor running conditions. And here we will use a while loop. This while loop will be the sealing functionality or the holding loop or whatever you want to call it. This loop will maintain the output high of the motor until the stop button is pressed or the thermal overload will be high. Let's say the motor will it's overloaded and stops. So here it is. Let's write the while loop conditions. So we have a while stop state is equal to 0 and that is the sealing functionality. Or sealing functionality or horning loop or whatever you say. Here is in this while loop we have to use a digital write sorry. You use the digital right, so that will go, and then that the motor state will be high. The motor state will be high. We will write the output to high, so the relay will be closed and the contactor will be closed and start. That's how we will run the motor. And again we will read the inputs and the output states. Don't forget that, it's very important. Okay, here we start the motor. Let's make it nicer. And let's see how we will stop the motor when when we press the stop button or we have a thermal overload of the motor. We will use again an if statement. If stop state is equals to high or 1, that means that we have pressed the stop button, or the thermal overload is equals to 1. The motor must be stopped under that two conditions, so we will use again the digital write. And we stop the motor. So what is the thinking of the program? When that if condition is true, we have this while loop until it will be false for any reasons. The program starts at that while loop, and when this while statement is true, when it's false, the programs break out from here and goes to that if statement and just stop the motors. That's all. Let's compile the program. Hardware, Arduino, Arduino Uno, we are okay. Sketch, compile and program. We have some errors, let's fix them. That's one mistake. Let's compile the program again. What is my other mistake? Of line 49. I forgot the thermal overload state. Okay, everything is okay now. See you in my next video that I will test the circuit on the Arduino. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye bye.